Hi everyone, welcome back to my 1973 series. This time I'm doing Save the Tiger, which won the Oscar for Best Actor for Jack Lemmon. I wasn't aware of anything to do with this movie before I saw it. I didn't know who directed it. Turns out it's John G. Avildsen, who did Rocky and The Karate Kid. I didn't know what the plot was. I didn't know who any of the other actors were. I assumed it was a drama, but I didn't know anything about the story. I knew nothing. And that's kind of a cool way to watch movies sometimes, to just sort of take each scene and each moment as it comes, and sort of wonder, where is this going exactly? As it turns out, this movie is more of a character piece than it is something that's plot-driven. Jack Lemmon's, of course, the main character. He's one of two partners running a clothing design and manufacturing business. And the movie is basically about 30 hours in his life, like from the morning of one day till mid-morning the next day. And we just sort of see all the stuff that he's dealing with. It starts off with him talking to his wife before he leaves for work and before she leaves in a business trip heading out to a different city. He drives to work, he meets up with his partner, they talk about what's going on, he meets with some of the people working at the clothing store. It's not a store, it's, they're designing and manufacturing it. They're preparing for a runway show later to show merchants, to show their new line, and they hope that everything goes well and the people like the designs. There's this financial trouble that they talk about, where they're talking about possibly committing insurance fraud and burning down one of the buildings that they own to collect the money, because they had to do some creative accounting the year before, and that's catching up with them. There's a client that he's got to deal with who wants special favors. There's a mob guy who wants to lend the business money and get like 200% back or something crazy like that, and they don't want to get involved with them. Basically just a whole bunch of the day-to-day problems, but only more of them packed in a smaller period of time. And Jack Lemmon, he's terrific in this movie. I mean, I've always liked him as an actor, especially in Glenn Ross, of course. And this movie came out almost 20 years before Glengarry. Right? Yes, that's right. Almost 20 years, because that was 73. Glengarry was 92. But yeah, I've seen him in, of course, a lot of different things, like the China Syndrome, yeah, he's been someone that I like. And in this movie, there's a scene where he claims to be 33 years old, and I'm like, that's not right, is it? I mean, he didn't look that old when he was 33. Turns out he was lying. The character. Anyway. So yeah, like I said, it's more character-driven than it is plot-driven. But there are a lot of character actors that I don't recognize. In fact, I'd say that I don't recognize any of the other actors in this movie except for Jack Lemmon. They're all people that I don't know. That's one of the kind of cool things about seeing a film like this, is that this is like well before I even started watching movies fanatically, like say around 87 or 88 or so. That's when I really started watching movies with increasing frequency, when I was about 13, 14 years old. And so this was from a period which, of course, I'd just been born, but I wasn't really familiar with a lot of cultural things that were going on then. And it's sort of crazy to think that people hitchhiked very casually back then. Probably the most surprising thing that happens in the movie for me is on the way to work that first day, Jack Lemmon stops and picks up a teenage girl. She's standing by the side of the road, she waves at him, and he's like, yeah, come on, get in, it's okay. And I'm just like, really? People did that back then? How old is this girl, man? She says she's 21, but, honestly, she looks pretty young. Seems a little trusting. But I'm like, oh my goodness, this was like way before stranger danger, wasn't it? Isn't it? Don't get into strangers' cars, honestly. Now, Jack Lemmon, he's not a sick guy, so he's not going to do anything, but still, it just seems unwise. But this was like commonplace back then, apparently, People hitchhike like it was nothing. It's like, oh yeah, I'll hitch a ride with this guy. He happens to be going the same direction or something like that. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, yeah, it's Avildsen, right, he's the director. I couldn't remember if I'd mentioned that or not. So yeah, like I said, a bunch of character actors so I wasn't familiar with. But yeah, it's just sort of the day-to-day life and the stuff that he's dealing with. And when the end came, it was just one of those moments where I was thinking to myself, wait a second, is this the end? This isn't the end of the movie, is it? This is the last shot of the movie? Credits are rolling. It is. This is the end? Oh man, that's kind of disappointing. It ended sooner than I thought it would, I guess. But I was expecting a little bit more resolution from some of the storylines. they meet with this shady guy to decide whether or not they're going to burn down the warehouse or not. And there's that comes to a conclusion, but we really don't see anything that happens after that, of course. So it kind of leaves you hanging in a number of different ways. But like I said, it's more character-driven than it is plot-driven. Now, I was wondering what the title meant exactly. There's a couple scenes in which Jack Lemmon comes across a guy in a street corner who's asking people to donate money to help save an endangered species of tiger. So I was wondering, why is the movie called Save the Tiger? What does that have to do with it? And I'm thinking that there was this conversation that Jack Lemmon has with his business partner about the old way of doing things, which is straight arrow type honest business practices. And now what they find is the new way of running business, which is to just do whatever you can, get away with as much as possible in order to stay ahead of the game, and that's the way things are now. And they're both kind of disillusioned by that. They're disappointed, but Jack Lemmon's like, look, times change, things change, you gotta roll with it, you gotta adapt. As much as we don't like the way of doing things now, we're talking about committing a crime, committing arson, fraud, what have you. It's sometimes you just got to do stuff that you don't want to in order to, because otherwise we might be putting our whole company out of business, putting all these people out of work. We don't want to do that. So it comes down to some hard choices. But I like this movie a lot. I thought it was really good, and not what I was expecting, but then again, I really had no expectations. So as the story went on, it was just like, well, where's this going? And then suddenly it's over. I'm just like, oh, that was it? A little bit underwhelming and disappointing, but I can see why Jack Lemmon won Best Actor for this. He's really good. I don't think this movie, not only do I think this is not the kind of movie that would get made now, but I don't see it getting like lots of awards because, again, there isn't a whole lot of story to go around here. There's just some story, just a bit of it. But again, it's more about the character than anything. I'm repeating myself now. Anyway, my next video is going to be on the Brian De Palma film Sisters, and which was a recommendation to me. And I'd like to invite those of you watching, if you haven't already, to recommend 1973 movies for me to check out. I've gotten a bunch of suggestions already, so I've got plenty to go in the coming weeks. But I'm looking for more because I want to do at least one film for every week this year. So thanks again for watching. And thanks for commenting if you choose to, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.